All right, what's up, guys? Today's lesson is going to be a lot more on the options Greeks. In our last lesson, we talked a lot about in the money, at the money, out the money, and I talked a lot about how time has a lot to do with the type of contracts you should choose. Whether you're doing a quick scalp trade, then it's fine to go in the money, at the money. Those will probably be the best for scalp trades. Now, if you're going out the money further out and you don't have a lot of time, doesn't make too much sense to go too far out the money on a contract that expires very soon. Why? Because of theta. And so in today's class, we're going to talk about theta, delta, gamma, implied volatility, and just to sum it up, kind of like choosing the best options contracts. So let's start with theta, which is probably one of the most important options in Greeks that a lot of traders do not keep in mind. It's so important to know what these Greeks are before you even touch options, right? So how I like to think of theta is the price you pay to play, right? Basically, the more time you buy on your contract, the more expensive the contract will be because you're paying for time. So when you're paying for a contract that expires very soon, like in only a day, or 0 days, meaning it expires the same day, those contracts will be fairly cheap. And a lot of the times people fall for those cheap contracts because, oh, they're cheap, let me buy it cheap. And but a lot of times what that means is that it's closer to zero, right? If it's that cheap, that means that if you run out of time, it goes to zero. Another way I like to think of it is the hourglass example. So if I pop up an hourglass here, you guys will see that I want you guys to think of it like this. Let's say you have 1 week on your contract, okay, and you think Tesla's going to 400. Think of this as your money, right? And this as your contract expiring. Let's say you think it's going to get there in 1 month. In 1 month, let's say it gets to 400 today. Let's say you bought it today and it got to 400 today. You could literally take profit today and not have to worry about time running out on you because it happened today, right? And so therefore, your money stayed safe. Think of this at the bottom like a trash can, right? And your money's up here. Let's say let's say a week passes by. Then now that a week passed by, you're running out of time on your contract. And so you're losing money as time is running out. I'll explain it more in an actual example. I just want to give you guys this visual example. And so if a week passes and the 2 weeks pass and it's still not getting close to your price, then that's when you start to lose money. And the closer it gets to expiring, your money starts to go to waste. So your goal as an options trader is to take profits before your contract runs out. You want it to get there before your expiration date, right? So let's go back here so I can show you guys more examples. But of course, like I said, if you buy a month out, it'll probably be more expensive than a contract that you bought that expires in 1 week. If you buy a contract that expires in 1 week, it'll be more expensive than a contract that expires in 1 day. The more time you have, the more expensive they are because you're paying for time. And so that is why 0 days to expiration contracts are the cheapest contracts because you don't have a lot of time. The market opens at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And if by 1 p.m. the market closes, it doesn't even get close to your strike price, where you think it's going to, then you lose your money because you ran out of time. Right? It's like if I think Tesla's going to 400 and Tesla at the time is at 395 and it takes all day, but the stock just stays at 395 and it doesn't get to 400 by the end of the day, then you lost money because you ran out of time. And so had you had like a week, you wouldn't have lost that much money because you have enough time for it to get to 400 if you have a week, if you have a week out. So therefore theta won't affect you as much. So theta will affect you more when you when you don't have a lot of time, right? And so let's go over some actual examples here. This may be a little bit of a longer lesson because I'm going to cover all the Greeks in one lesson, but I want you guys to really understand and drop comments if you guys have any. So in this example, let's say at the time of recording, it's probably a long time ago, the stock was at 443. SPY was at 443. Let's say we're looking at a contract that expires at the time of recording also, it was September 18th. So we're not going to look at contracts that expire the same day. Let's look at a contract that expires maybe in like 2 days. So let's look at a contract that expires, let's say September 20th. Okay, so this is 2 days to expiration. If the stock's at 443 and I think it's going up to 445. It's about $2 away. Could definitely happen in a day. It's within its ATR. It's very possible for that to happen. So let's look at the strike price where I think it's going to. That's what strike price is. Calls are on the left side, puts are on the right side. If I'm going to buy a 445 call, how much does it cost? I have to look at the asking price. So that contract cost $132. That contract cost $132. Now, what is the theta? Theta, you have to add to your options chain. So theta is right here. I'm going to scroll down, and the theta is negative 0.54. So what does that mean? Okay, let's say September 18th is a Monday. Put the letter M. Let's say September 19th is a Tuesday. And let's say September 20th is a Wednesday. Let's say we bought the Wednesday contract on Monday. So on September 18th, we think it's going to get to 445 by Wednesday. So we bought 2 days out to be a little bit safer, so that we can give it time for it to get there. But now, these type of contracts that you only have a day or two, they are not the type of contracts you want to swing trade, that you want to hold overnight. Why? Because the theta is high. So if you guys want to write down the actual definition of theta, it's how much you lose for every day you hold, right? And so think of it like this. If we bought it on Monday, the 18th, and you hold it overnight, that means you held it for one day. If you held it from Monday to Tuesday, you will lose the theta for every day you hold it. So let's say, imagine you paid 132. We paid 132 for this contract, and automatically just for holding, you're gonna lose $54 just for holding overnight. That's a very high theta. That's like losing almost half of your contract. It doesn't make sense for me to swing a contract when the theta is so high. That's why if I am gonna swing something and hold it overnight, I want to make sure that the theta is lower, right? I want to make sure that the theta is not too high, because it doesn't make sense for me to hold it overnight, and then just lose 54 just because time is running out. Because think of it like this. The closer it gets to expiration, September 20th, time is running out. So if you hold it another night, now you lose another 54. And at that point, you lost more than half of what you even paid for it. So when it comes to swinging a contract, you do not swing contracts that expire so soon. You don't swing a contract that expires tomorrow. You swing a contract that expires maybe in like 2 weeks, a little bit over a week, right? That way the theta doesn't affect you too much. And that's what some traders don't understand. They're like, oh, but it got to my strike price. How did I still lose money? You lost money on the theta, right? Because you held it for overnight and the theta was high. So I'm gonna show you guys that same example on a different contract. Let's look at the contract that expires on September 29th. So now, if it was September 18th and we bought a contract that expires on September 29th, now we have like 11 days. So see how there's now you have more time till expiration. So if I do think it's going to 445 and I think it's going to get there within 11 days, it could happen in one day, right? But I'm just buying more time so that I'm not affected by the theta just in case it does take a little bit longer, right? And so that's why having time on your side as an options trader is one of the most important things, because a lot of times I've been right on the move. Like I think it's going to 445, but I just didn't buy enough time. And I end up running out of time, and it does get to 445, but I ran out of time, so I still lost money, right? And so that's a big mistake that a lot of newer traders make. And so to be safer as an options trader, having time on your side helps significantly. But what did I say? The more time you buy, the more expensive the contract will be. So think of it like this. We bought 11 days instead of two. That last contract costed 132. How much does this contract cost? We look at the ask. This contract costs 350. So see how the price almost doubled of how much it costs? It's far more expensive. But we have more time for it to get there, though. We're a little bit safer. What is the theta, though? How much we're going to lose if we hold it overnight? The theta on this one is only $19. So it's a lot less. So if I hold this overnight, I'll only lose $19 instead of 54. And so therefore, this is a much better contract to choose if I'm going to swing it overnight. Now, this is still a great contract to choose, even if you're not going to swing it, right? You can still buy it. It doesn't mean you have to hold it. A lot of people get confused on this part. Do I have to hold it to the expiration date? No, you genuinely want to sell it before it even gets close to your expiration date, because the closer it gets, the more time you lose. And so you're just buying time to protect yourself from just in case it does take a little bit longer, right? That's what you're buying time for. Now, it's a lot riskier when you're buying a 0 day to expiration because you need it to get there ASAP, right? And so 0 days to expiration, closer to the money, in the money, at the money. That way it can get there just very quick. You get in, get out, and you don't get affected by the theta because you sold before time was even could even affect you. And so that's kind of what theta is. I'll show you guys the last example. We'll do this one very quick so we get into delta and gamma. December 29th, I'm going to choose the same. Now you have 102 days till the contract expires. 445 call. We think it's going to 445 by December 29th, and it's currently September 18th. Now you have 100 days for it to get there. But look at how much more expensive the contract is. Now this contract costs $1,493. It's far more expensive. Why? Because you put 100 days worth of time. Now, what is the theta on that one? It's only $7. So if you do hold this overnight, every day that you hold this, you'll lose $7 just for holding overnight. And so that's why nobody likes theta. It is the price you pay to play. But now that is where the other Greeks come in, which is delta, gamma, implied volatility. These are going to be the ones that help us out and help us determine how much we're going to make, or pretty much how much we're going to make. So I hope you guys understood theta. Rewatch it a few times if you need to. Next up, we got delta, delta, delta. Delta is going to be our friend. This one is going to tell us how much we are going to make. So think of it like this. Let me see if I can go to an options chain here. Okay, we're going to use that same example. We're going to use that 445 call that expires in 2 days from the 18th to the 20th. What is the delta? Right? The contract cost 132. So that's how much it costs. What is a delta? The delta is 0.40. So now what does delta mean? If you guys want to write down the definition, I'll keep it simple for you guys. How much you make for every dollar move, the stock goes your way. Okay. So right now, what is the stock currently at? It is at 443. Let's write that down. The stock is currently at 443. How much do I make? Hold on. It's currently at 443. How much do I make if it gets to 444? It moved up $1. What is the definition of delta? You can pause the video and try to answer this question. I'm gonna give the answer right now. But how much do you make for every dollar? Pretty much delta means how much you make for every dollar the stock goes your way. So it went $1 in our direction. We think it's going to 445. If it went up $1, I just made $40 on my contract that I paid $132 on per contract. So let's say you had multiple contracts. You just made $40 per contract. In this example, let's just say we only bought one contract at 132. We just made $40 because it went up $1. If it goes up another dollar to 445, now it went $2 in our direction. So we have to add another 40. So if it goes from 443 to 445, then we add another 40 and we made $80 on this contract. So that's going to be our friend. It's going to let us know how much we make for every dollar it goes in our direction. I think this one's pretty straightforward. If you guys have any questions on this one, just feel free to drop it below. So this is always something important to look at when you're looking at an options contract. And why it's important also is because if you do swing something, I'll give you guys a good tip. You would generally want the delta to be higher than the theta. That way, let's say the theta is $20, but the delta is 50, then if you hold it overnight, you're going to lose the $20 automatically because of the theta. But let's say it does go a dollar or two in your way, then you pretty much cover that. Delta is like your insurance. So I lost 20 because of theta, unfortunately, but it went my way. And the delta was 50. So I just made $50, but I lost 20. And so therefore the delta is your insurance. So when you do swing a contract, always make sure that the delta is higher than the theta. Okay, just a quick tip when you're looking for something to swing. So next up we have gamma. It's not going to be like the biggest effect, but it's still important to cover. Gamma measures delta's expected rate of change. So for example, if the delta was 51 and the gamma is 0.05, usually gamma will be a smaller number. It's typically always a smaller number, just like a little bonus. I want you guys to think of it like this. Let me find a good example. Let's use let's use that same example. Let's use the 443 and we think it's going to 445. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys an example here. Let's say that the delta is let's say the delta is 0.50 and let's say we have a gamma of 0.05. Before we do this example, I'm gonna tell you guys what this means. Gamma, you add gamma for or after the second dollar move in your direction. So skip the first dollar. I want you guys to think of it as like a bonus. Okay. So if it goes from 443 to 444, see if you guys can get this right. How much did I make based off of the delta and the gamma? You guys could pause it. I'm gonna give you guys the answer. You made $50. Why? Because the delta is 50. For every dollar goes your way, you make the delta. So if it goes from 443 to 444, it just went up a dollar, I make 50. But if it goes up another dollar, now I add another 50, right? But remember, now because we're thinking of it as like a bonus because we got this correct, we're gonna get a bonus of $5 on the gamma. Okay? So you add gamma after the second dollar move in your direction. You skip the first dollar. So at the first dollar move, I only add delta. Cool. We went up a dollar. I was right. I made the delta. Now I went up $2. Now I get a little bonus for being correct. Think of it. Now I add the delta and the gamma. So in total, I made $105 on this trade because I was correct on this little bonus. And every dollar after, you can continue to add the gamma. So I think this class, I'm gonna wrap it up. In the next class, I'll cover implied volatility. Or actually, I think I should actually include it in this class. That way it's just all the Greeks in one lesson. I just don't want to make it too long either. So if anything, yeah, I'll do implied volatility on the next class. Today was theta, delta, and gamma. And thank you guys for watching. Drop questions below. And I hope this was very helpful to understanding for you guys. Take a lot of notes, take flashcards, whatever it is you need to do to memorize this stuff. Thank you guys. Peace.